everybody, what's going on? My name is Simo, and welcome to How I Made Complex of the Mind. Let's get started. Alrighty, so if you missed any of the previous episodes for this series, I will link the playlist down in the description. And also, too, make sure to like, favorite, and subscribe if you do enjoy this series as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the arrangement, elements, and goals as always, and then we'll do sound design, and then we'll do mixing and mastering. So here we go. Let's get started. Alrighty, so as always, we're going to cover the arrangement, elements, and goals. I'm going to cover goals first because it covers in reverse order. So, in terms of the goal for this specific track here, it really, honest to God, is just me wanting to make a song. And that was really it. Like, there wasn't really any kind of special inspiration or special, like, oh, I saw this thing and I want to try this out. No, just me wanting to make a track. And that's literally all it was. Just do it with vocal chops, and that was it. Now, this track has a very long and rich history of story of, for me, feels like a bunch of controversy about, like, perfect pitch, relative pitch, harmony, and just a lot of things, like music theory overall, and just me realizing that overall, I really don't understand hardly anything about harmony, and I just do what sounds good. And this is kind of a result of one of those things where it's basically like, I thought this sounded good, man, but it's like everyone's like, nah, it doesn't sound that great. But at the same time, though, I liked it. I didn't really understand why it didn't sound good to everybody else. And for the longest time, I actually really couldn't hear what was melodically wrong with this song. It just literally made no sense to me. I just couldn't figure it out. And the only thing I can really draw of any kind of conclusion as to why it doesn't sound that great is actually utilizing a thing called wave candy and utilizing two particular instruments that are playing at the same time during the very first second this track starts. And that is literally the vocals and the pluck. So I'm just going to only have these two play, and then we can get started with at least my suspected reason behind why this track doesn't sound as good as what it could. If we have the right thing playing, it is. I think this is. Now, one thing I do want to make mention of is that this track, at least the supposed key that I was trying to go for this song, was actually just supposed to be D sharp minor. Yes, D sharp minor. That was it. That was the thing. That was what I was going for, and I think as a whole it achieved it, but it used a weird combination of notes in maybe the wrong order that it basically threw off everything sounding quote-unquote good about this track. So let me show you what I mean. So let's look at the wave candy. The wave candy is actually focusing on the vocal chops, and I'm going to highlight the fundamental tone of each of the vocals that plays at that particular time. And you'll see, like in the lower part of this, like this right here, you'll see where the note is, and I'll just tell you what it is anyway. So there you go. So by all accounts, it seems to be actually playing an F. The vocals seem to be basically playing an F when it first starts, and same with this note right here. It goes to F, and then it goes to D sharp. Now, so far, we're really, like, it doesn't seem that bad at all, but at the same time, though, there's some weird things about it that just still kind of throw me off. Like, when I think about it right now, I'm thinking, okay, those two notes are both F, right? And they don't sound like they go together at all, because the moment I hear it, it's like, that sounds bad. I couldn't figure out why, because they're both playing in the same note, literally, and the only difference is that it dips down to D sharp, the root of the song, basically at these last two notes. And so, I mean, there might be a little bit, there probably will be confusion there, because at least interval spacing wise, I think it's like a minor second or something like that. or minor third or whatever. D sharp and F. Hold on, let's see. We got unison, major second, minor second. Yeah, it's a minor second, which I think is one of the ones you don't want to have playing in terms of harmonic dissonance or consonance or whatever. But these first four notes, which are all playing in F, they should sound fine, but in my ears they don't. So I really couldn't figure it out for the longest time, and I still to some degree really can't. It's just like I said, this is just a wild guess on my end. And basically, octaves here for that, and then kind of builds up again, and then stuff happens again, and overall, I feel like the problem really just comes down to, if I had to boil it down to one thing, it just happened to be the wrong combination of notes with the absolutely wrong combination of vocals, because the vocals here are actually the Follow You vocals from AU5's song Follow You, by that one girl singer I can never pronounce properly. I mean, goodness. Actually, no, I don't think I ever heard it pronounced properly at all, so there you go. But that song was in G sharp major, and I forced it into a D sharp minor song. Yeah, D sharp minor track. So basically decided, okay, I just basically found out what was the equivalent of the major to D sharp minor, and then transposed it there and just used it as a minor thing. And I think overall that was one of the things that threw it off. And it's so weird. Like, this track, I could never have predicted that this would have produced such a dissonant type of sound to a lot of people. And there are some times where I can kind of hear, like, oh yeah, this is extremely dissonant. This does not sound pleasing at all, but then I just kind of forget about it afterwards and just like, whatever, I just push forward on and I enjoy the track. Especially at the second drop. The second drop for me feels like absolutely dark masterpiece. It feels completely evil, it feels completely hopeless, but at the same time, though, that was the point of this song. That is why the artwork is the way it is, because, I mean, the artwork in of itself was kind of an accident, because I was intending to make a separate track for it. But at the same time, though, I realized halfway in, like, oh, this is a really, really good artwork for Complex of the Mind, so I use it for that, go figure. So yeah, overall, that's kind of like the long and short of the story, is that basically I wanted to make a track, made it with some stuff, turned out to be harmonically dissonant, and overall it just got really weird, really screwy. Also here's a bonus thing about this too. I went to go publish this on a feedback stream session for someone I know. I'm not going to mention his name here, although you could probably find the video if you know what I'm talking about. Because it is on YouTube, so there you go. But I posted it on a feedback stream session, and it just got dejected. I noticed it also, too, in other places, it got dejected as well. Rejected, dejected. Overall, not a very good track received. And it kind of bummed me out, because I'm like, man, I don't want to redo all this all over again. I'm not trying to make it harmonically dissonant when I don't even know what the heck I'm doing after I spent over 40 hours on this track, almost 50 freaking hours, and I'm not doing it. So I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna screw it, publish it anyway, and thus we are at the conclusion of Complex of the Mind. So there you go. And so that's basically the whole story behind it. That's the goal, that's the story, and that's really all I'm gonna simply say in the matter, because at the end of the day, I just consider this one of the tracks that's like, okay, this is a good failure. Like, this is I kind of consider these tracks, like, there's a couple tracks that I've released in the past that I consider good failures in a sense. Like, they're good songs, but they're not greatly received songs, and they're also, too, they could have been a whole lot better for whatever reason. And at the end of the day, I don't know what that reason is. I don't really know. When I go back to listen to those tracks, I'm like, yeah, it could have been a lot better in this regard or whatever. But at the same time, though, it's a learning experience. And for me personally, this feels like a learning experience for how to handle criticism better, how to do things better with this, and just overall starting to not really give a flip about what people say as much. in terms of things. Because if I like the track, I'm just going to release the track, and that's pretty much all there is going to be about the track. They may have valid points, and they may not be wrong, but at the same time, though, my sanity also matters a lot, too. This is one of the reasons why, for me, I don't try to learn music theory anymore, and I don't pursue that anymore. I just stick with what I know, because my sanity about trying to learn this stuff just so I can artificially please people, maybe possibly because of arbitrary rules that may or may not have a valid point. I just start not to care anymore, and just for me, that's just kind of how I'm putting it is anyway. So there you go. So anyway, that's enough about the story and the backdrop of this track and the goals. Let's move on to the elements. So there is a lot of elements in the song. I mean, just a freaking truckload. And most of it is basses and I would say also just melodic stuff too. So let's just go down the list I do have and just tell you what it is. So of course we have the vocal chops. That is obvious. That is like kind of the main central point of the song. Of course. And then after that, like I said earlier, we do have a pluck. We do indeed have a pluck. The pluck actually is kind of cool because this is the same pluck I used within my track Just Chill to Freak Out, just modified in the FX department. I don't think it has any of the reverb or at least post the harmonic reverb or delay in it. So there you go. But it is basically the same pluck from that particular track if you remember that song. There is a mini little ARP that plays in the background for stuff and things, and I need to find it. Where is it? Where is it? Oh yeah, here it is. So it's called Side ARP. And it plays around this section right here. Pretty much it seems like I think this particular preset or something about this preset is not made for me at all. I think I found it like in a random FL Studio 9 or 10 type of preset pack when I first started making electronic music, and the name of this thing is Sweet. I know I still have the preset somewhere. Let me see if I can find at least the name of the thing. So let's see, presets. I think it's from, where is it? It's somewhere. It's a particular one. I actually don't really. It's from a Citrus preset pack, but I don't remember where the actual preset pack is. That's the only thing. I'm trying to find it just so I can make sure I can bring it up, but I don't know. I just can't seem to find it. Anyway, if I can find it later on, I'll just put it. I'll put this in post, but for right now, I just know that it's from a preset pack, and that's pretty much it. I mean, like if you really want this sound, I'm gonna go ahead and say this now. If you really want this sound, just let me know if you guys want the project file, and I have no problem publishing the project file at all and all that good stuff. So there you go. Anyway, after that, little art thing, we have some plucks. In a sense, plucks. They're not really plucks as they are just stringy plucks, but they're strings and stuff and things. Yes, that's a sentence I just said. Yeah. This is part of my attempt to try and vary up the intro a little bit, because it is a very long intro. It's like 32 bars, and it's just nothing but giant build-up and whatnot. So I figured, yeah, I'll add this in here because somebody mentioned, hey, the intro is kind of too long. I want to vary it up or shorten it up. And I decided to vary it up because shortening it up was pretty bad. So there you go. Just threw off the whole feel for me, especially after hearing 32 bars of intro for a while. So I decided, I'll just add this extra element here, and there you go. This is also another one of the things that kind of threw me off too. It seems like this is in F major or something like that. I don't even know. It's a weird chord combination. There you go. Anywho, we have that string set there. We also, of course, have I refer to this, at least in the notes, as long strings. But really all it is just that it's a FL Studio string direct wave thing. I think it's the string section. It plays like basically in the two main drops here. It's actually kind of fun for me. I really like that a lot. It kind of adds a lot to the darkness of the song, and it's a fun set. String section in the direct wave is not a bad preset thing for me. Then after that we have piano. We actually have two separate pianos here. Now the reason why we have two separate pianos is purely just for some type of weird stuff to do with, I think, of the outro, I think. Let's see if I can find it. Because it's oh yeah, that's right, yeah. So basically what I wanted to do is I wanted to have a I wanted to do, for some reason, a piano chord thing, and also wanted to have the arp there, but I wanted to have it kind of fade in and out. But for some reason or another, I just decided not to use the original piano thing, like the close grand from Direct Wave, again, Direct Wave piano set. And I decided to copy and paste it and make it the second one its own insert for the ARP thing. It's literally the same ARP as the one from before. It's just in piano form, basically. And so there you go. And I think we also have, yeah, we have the legato lead. This is basically the lead that plays in the second drop. No, the first drop. It plays in the first drop. It does play in the second drop as well, I think. But it starts off in the first drop. I can find it. Where is it? It is somewhere over here. Up here? Yep, up here. This is where it's at. Yeah, that's basically what it is. And pretty much I had copy and pasted this two other times and basically kind of altered them around just to kind of add some, just a little bit of texture to the sound or whatever else. And it's literally just copying the vocal line from the main vocals. You can hear it clear as day when I highlight it. Took a long time to transcribe the vocals to the freaking lead over here. Took a long freaking time. So, fun times. And I think, yeah, finally we have a choir as far as melodic stuff is concerned, so that's a good thing. And I don't think it plays in any other place other than the second drop. This is the only place where you hear the choirs. Huh. It just plays right at the end of the second drop, and that's all it plays at. Because we need more tension, yo. As if that second drop was not any more impactful. And so that's all the melodic elements. Let's cover the bass elements. We have this. I actually had to look at to see how this plays out a lot. It's so weird. Let's see. Where's the first drop? Is it right? It's right over here, I think. Yeah, fun stuff. So we have, for the first thing, the main bass. I guess you could consider the main bass is this rough glitch patch. Now, this is actually a same patch from the song Wait. It's literally the exact same patch. There really is no difference between it. Maybe like some cosmetic changes, but it is like the exact same. And I do not remember anything about how to make this sound whatsoever. Other than I use, I think, a massive wavetable, and obviously it seems like there's a flanger and stuff used and whatever else, but I made this preset such a long time ago. I'm not even going to bother to explain it because, yes. We also, of course, have another familiar sound from a previous bad track. Remember when I was talking about the freaking thing where it was like, yeah, this is a good failure or something like that, or like a good bad track type of thing. Well, this is one sound from one of those things called Can You Stay Here? That track, yeah. There is a Reese sound that's literally the exact same patch in that particular song, and that's really all this is. The inspiration for this actually came from a Seamless R track called what was it called again? It was like an electro house track. I actually had to look it up to figure out what it was called again. I actually do not remember. Actually, let me look at my phone. I know I've got it on my phone somewhere. It's actually a really good house track. It was in this latest EP, Wizard Bass EP, and I don't remember what it was. I have to look up where the inspiration for this sound was, because it's somewhere, and I just don't remember where. Give me a second to find it. It's not Ruin. It's Ammunition. The song Ammunition. There's a sound that plays pretty similar to that, and this is kind of the inspiration from that. Although the Ammunition bass that's similar to this sound, it was a little bit more of an actual proper Reese. Like, it would actually speed up as you went higher in pitch, just because of the way it worked. So there you go. So yeah, I just stronghold Reese. Yeah. Comb the Water. This is something I've used before and I've pointed out before as well. It's basically just a simple Reese. Well, it was at least a simple Reese. I've formulated this thing into many different things, but now it actually seems to be a actual proper space sound. So very watery indeed. Comb the Water. Although I think this is the Reese one. Oh no, but this is Watery Reese, so whatever. Watery Reese 1-2. Interesting name. And I already covered Rough Glitch. Resampled Imgrout. This is a change into the... I think this is a different variant of Rough Glitch. And we have other stuff. I don't know. So, Watery Reese, the Reese, subtle Reese thing you hear in the background. Comb the Water, bass sound. Stronghold Reese, although not really, just like a main bass type of thing. So, meh. Rotating Tube. I don't know where. I must use this somewhere. I don't know where I used it from. There's a lot of basses in this track, and it really throws me off, actually. Like, I'm not even kidding. There's so many basses, it just throws me off. I honest to God, I really do not know where the rotating tube thing comes from. I must have used it somewhere. But there you go. That is a thing, and that is a sound I actually have used before. And of course, we have different sub basses just for stuff. I'm not even going to bother to explain this, although I will say the sub basses in this track pretty simple to make. You just literally take a ARP and a default citrus patch, lower it down to the lowest sub level, and then just put a few harmonics in the saw wave pattern in the oscillation tab, and then bam, you have a sub bass. So there you go. But I think that's all that it is for the sounds, the bass sounds, and then let's go on to the drums and also some chants, because yes, there are some hip hop chants like what, that kind of stuff. So anyway, we have the drums indeed. So there's a very simple drum set here. It's not that complicated at all. We have my I love this pack. I love the kick snare pack where this comes from. Especially the kicks. The kicks are so good. I found this from Reddit. It's called AED1 Kicks. It's basically a combination a sample library of lots of different types of kicks, and they're all labeled in key, and they're all freaking great depending on what you're looking to do. You got the sorted kicks, you got these bonus kicks. Sounds like sampled stuff. Then you actually have heavy kicks, which are like heavy in the sub. Really great. I really consider them great overall. Then of course you got the punchy stuff. Just again, it's kind of a variant of the heavy but different. Reverb. Lots of different stuff there. Sampled again. You got a lot. You got snappy stuff. And strange, which is just like a weird thing. Lots of different sounds. This is what I was looking for. Probably could use that one if I really wanted to. And then synth. Yeah, just synthy stuff. Sounds like an 808 stuff. And vintage. This is the one I use from here. And vintage kick 12 and the F key, if I can find it. Yes, this is the sample right here. So, fun stuff. Now we also have the AU5 snares because, oh my gosh, yes. This dude makes some freaking great stuff. And I found this from the Break Tweaker pack. I'm sure you can find it somewhere. I just found a free download off the internet on Mediafire or something like that. It was posted on a freaking Discord channel. I'm like, huh. So it is available for download. Okay, cool. I'll download it. And then bam, there you go. So, the snare samples. What else? Cymbals, yes, we have lots of those. I do not remember where these are from, but I do think they are an FPC kit sounding thing, so I think, and I've just used these cymbals for literally years. I cannot even count you the amount of times I've used these cymbals. These are just my go-to cymbals. I don't do it this way anymore where I list out all the cymbals in the not the playlist. What's this called again? The channel rack, yes. I don't list them all out in the channel rack anymore like this, but at the same time though, I still do use these cymbals. So there you go. And finally, we have a snap cymbal, which just plays in the intro. So there you go. And I think that's it for the drums. Now finally, we have the almighty, awesome, freaking legendary chants. So good.
Yeah.
You can kind of hear in the background a little bit in like and think of the second drop. Oh, the first drop. It first pops up in the first drop, actually. So yeah, fun stuff. And that really is all there is to it. You can find this in at least a good bit of this in the Tristan. I don't even know. I found it from a SoundCloud link. So there you go. It's like a hip hop sample thing, or some type of sample thing. I don't even know. But sample pack, free stuff, and I'm gonna download it. So yeah, but that's all the elements. Let's now cover the very, very lengthy arrangement because this song is a very long track. It's about almost 7 minutes long. Yeah, almost 7 minutes long. Let's go ahead and get started with that section. So now when it comes to the arrangement, this track is nothing but 16 bars, but it is broken down. You could consider some sections to actually be 32 bars depending on how far you want to break it down. So there you go. For me personally, I break down it into basically kind of like this. So we have this intro bit. That's the first thing you hear, and you basically, that kind of mood, it does pick up a little bit as the song progresses, but overall, I consider this like intro part A, and the whole length of that is like 16 bars in total, so there you go. Now we have basically this other part right here, which is intro part B. and this just kind of picks up the pace a bit more before it just levies on you with the drop. So, like, in speaking of which, that is actually, again, same story. Drop part A and part B, both 16 bars, and there you go. Part B picks up where basically the legato string, legato synth lead thing comes in, so yeah. And so there you go with that one. No, this is just the 16 bars of part B. And then this is where things start to half down a little bit. We get into the first breakdown of the song. Only 16 bars there. And then we have drop 2, which is only 16 bars again. And there is no part B in this one. It's just simply 16 bars of solid, nothing but dropness. Of dark despair dropness, yes. And then we go into a very long breakdown. 32 bars overall. Again, I separated out into breakdown 2, part A and part B, kind of like this. This is part B of the second breakdown. Now, this is the very last section before the outro. This is I had to come up with a new term for this because I wanted to do it again. I wanted to have another drop, but I wouldn't really consider this the drop because it doesn't have that same kind of energy. And also too, just to kind of let you know, this like I said, this track isn't, at least supposedly, in D sharp minor, but it does drop down 2 semitones to C minor at the C sharp minor at this point. So there you go. But that particular part right there, I wasn't really sure what to call it because it wasn't exactly a drop, but it didn't exactly like outro either, and I just kind of referred to it basically as a hanging drop. And I don't really know what the actual official term for this would be. I've heard it in one other song before. I think it was Seamless R's song Resolve he did this in, and I kind of wanted to do that same thing there. But I wasn't really sure what to call this, so I just called the hanging drop. It's really just like kind of like trying to do something again before it actually outros, but it doesn't have the same kind of energy as an actual drop, so there you go. It's a lot more chilled out, but it does also have a drop type of nature to it, but again, not the same kind of full force energy as you would see in even the first drop. And then finally, after 16 bars of that particular weirdness, we also have the outro, which is the final bits of the song. It just kind of slowly goes out. And then that's it. That's the whole arrangement. That's the whole thing. And that's all there is to that. So, long story short, basically complication. Yes, that's how we're going to call this. Let's go on to the lack thereof of a sound design, because hint, I'm not going to be able to explain that much because, oh my gosh, I'm not bothering. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoy the sound design. Let's get to it. Alrighty, so we have the sound design of this, and like I said, I'm really, honest to God, not going to talk about a whole lot of how I made this stuff, because quite frankly, the sound designs for this are really complicated for me to even try to explain. All these presets I've made long before I even decided to make this track. Like, if you don't, like, there was a previous how I made, I think it was for Take a Minute Here, I think I talked about. Basically the concept of making sounds in previous project and, you know, presets and things like that, and then incorporating them into your track afterwards. And this is definitely a product of that as well. So I'm just going to reiterate that again. Basically, I highly recommend, you don't have to. There are artists that don't do this, or a combination of this and just making their sounds live. But I really would recommend, especially if you don't know, if you want to make something but you can't like make any kind of songs or actual proper music, just go into sound design and just do whatever you want to do to make sounds. Just learn something or at least experiment with something. You might come up with something pretty cool at the end of the day, and you might have a cool sound you can use in a future track period, and who knows, that's definitely a thing, and this is definitely the case of that. So, I'm just but I will reiterate once again, if you want this project file and you really want to explore the sounds of this, and you really want to have a toss of trying to figure it out for yourself, if you want to remake these sounds, please let me know if you want the project file. I really do not mind it if people are like, man, I want this project file, we'll even pay for it. And so I'll be like, okay, yo, bro, $15, I'll put it here, and then there you go, you can download it. That I really don't mind. Not even a bit. So if you really want this project file, let me know, and I will definitely provide a link if I get enough people saying, hey, whatever. And for me, enough people will be like 3 or 2 people asking, because literally that's all. I don't have an audience yet. I'm trying to build one. So if you want it, let me know, and I have no problem supplying it. So there you go. Anyway, that's basically all I'm going to say about sound design, because like I said, this is complicated. I don't feel like explaining it, and if you want the sounds, you can get the project file if you want me to get it. So there you go. I will say, Smooth Water, this is a really cool sound. I love this sound a lot. See if I can find it maybe somewhere. It's that sound right there. I love that sound. Anyway, off to mixing and mastering. Yes! Something I can talk about. Alrighty, so now we're on to the mixing and mastering after that failure of sound design discussion. So the mixing and mastering, like I always say, I really for me, my concept of what mixing and mastering really is, the best way to really, the best way to get good at mixing and mastering is literally just to do a whole bunch of things, figure out a lot of small tips that basically all culminate into one really good overall mix. And then you can basically learn how to do a little bit of mastering here and there, depending on what you want to do, and that's basically how you get a good master and mix. And like I said, for the mix, again, it's just nothing but a combination of a lot of small, useful tips that all culminate into basically, oh, wow, this guy makes good mixes in his tracks. And that took me basically where I am today, just learning a bunch of small stuff. And one of those small things that I actually had learned a long time ago, I have a separate tutorial on this, but basically reverb control. Reverb control is utterly important for what you want to do, and overall I would highly recommend that if you have a song where you have too much reverb and everything's cloudy and everything has a reverb and you have reverb on the master, don't do that. Please don't do that. That's a terrible idea. Why would you do that? No, just don't do that. Don't use too much reverb. In fact, I would argue you have a much better shot of making a better mix if you don't use reverb except on a few things. And I'm going to highlight a few of these things using this track to do that. So there you go. Now, one of the things I always recommend to people when it comes to reverb is that you don't, like I said, you don't want to use it, period, except on a few things. A few of these things being more background instrument type of things and maybe stylized reverb for certain elements. What I mean by these two things? Well, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at these long strings that I have playing in the background of this particular song. If I can find it right in time, here we go. This is like a background instrument. This is background stuff. This basically fills out the background of the song, and it is really more of a support characteristic. Something like, most drums, basses, like vocal chops for the most part. These are things that you don't want to have reverb on. And if you do, you want to have it particularly light and at least not in the way so much that it's just not going to hurt it. But for background stuff, it's alright to have a bit of reverb in it. So let me show you what I mean. So this is the one with reverb. If I take the reverb off, it sounds like this. You might say, "Well, that still has a lot of reverb." Well, it's also because Maximus is on too, and it's compressing everything upward a bit more. And there you go, as you can see. And also too, it like Direct Wave has its own built-in reverb as well, so that helps out a lot as well. As you can see right here, if we disable that, and if we disable these things and basically, even if we just leave the Maximus on, right, just to kind of give that ultra compressed sound. Listen to how this sounds. Like, it just sounds like it's not really realistic, and it doesn't sound that great. But at the same time, though, having reverb to make it more sound realistic as a whole, you want to think about it. Basically, adding reverb to this element does not matter as much. But you don't necessarily want to have reverb on your main kick, especially when it's supposed to be like hard hitting and stuff like that, because that's just going to make it sound muddier, unless again it's stylized reverb. What I mean by stylized reverb, quite simply just reverb that's meant to basically add to a flair of the sound. You kind of hear this a bit with I think actually either the snare or something like that, or I think it's one of the drum sets. It is yeah, the snare. You hear it with the snare. The snare has a bit of reverb on it, and that's because this is a stylized instrument, and typically speaking, it doesn't matter to have reverb on the snare that much because it's just not really that big of a deal. But if you have reverb and everything else as well as your snare, it's going to convolute the sound, make it sound muddy, and it's going to be a lot harder to mix, and you really got to have tight reverb control if you're going to even do something like that in the first place. So again, I recommend that you don't have reverb on hardly anything, and if you are going to have reverb on a lot of stuff, really tone it down a whole lot and make sure it's very short decay, not a whole huge room sound or whatever, or at the very least just make it sound tight and in control, because like I said, reverb control matters a lot. The example I always provide to you guys when it comes to where I learned this thing was actually a Mr. Bill song. I don't know how to pronounce the track at all, but it's what? This track right here. This song right here. This song, if you listen to it, just listen to it in your own time. It's just like, you see the title, look it up, and just listen how dry everything sounds. You can hear everything that goes on that song, and you can hear it very clear, and the only thing that possibly has any reverb is the little effect that plays in the background. That's it. And really, at the end of the day, that's kind of where you want to have your stuff at. Reverb control, reverb control, reverb control, and you control it by don't having hardly any on there. So there you go. Fun times. Anyway, that's basically all I'm going to talk about for this, and hopefully you guys enjoyed your tip. And yeah, anyway, but Complex of the Mind, this has been how I made for this song. Fun excursion into the world of making bad music, apparently. So there you go. If you guys did enjoy, though, be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe for more. I will catch y'all in the next video for how I made and whatever other thing comes up my mind, whether it's gaming, music, or whatever else related. And yeah, catch y'all in the next video, and I'll at least see you next Friday. So, bye-bye. Yay.